Hi, in this video we're going to continue our conversation about number formatting, and we're going to talk about how you can format percents and how you can do a lot of interesting things with describing the positive and negative state of a number in the number formatting window. So the first thing I'm going to do is create a percent difference 2010 versus 2005, and to save some time I'm going to use the format painter to get my nice dotted lines over here. I'm going to make this a different color. Let's make it red, and we'll say 2010 versus 2005. I will make this wrapped, and then I won't make it red. Let me make it just a dark purple. There you go. And now what I'm going to do is enter the percent difference formula. There's a much simpler version of this formula. I always like using the longer version. That's just me. Great, there you go. Now you can notice right away, because we were describing these numbers earlier very specifically with number formatting, that number formatting has retained because I pasted the formatting over here with the format painter. So you'll notice I have to shift this now to be a percent. Underneath it all, this is a decimal, but I've described it very specifically to be presented with that 0 and the M and all that stuff. So I'm going to clear that by just turning it into percents like that. I'm going to copy this down. Now look what happens when I do that. The top line here copied with it, and I lost my nice dotted lines. So in order for that not to happen, I have to go over here and say fill without formatting. And now we're back to the way we were before. But once again, we lost our percent formatting. We're back to the million formatting. I can click here though, and there we are. Now we're in percent world again, and we're good. So the first thing we want to get rid of are these errors. There are situations where there is no data in 2005, or in this case where there's no data for either year, because we're talking about Antarctica, which doesn't have a population. So what we can do is we can describe our formula with, we can add to our formula a great formula called if error. What if error does, basically, it will take whatever you put into it. You can have a gigantic formula in here, and then at the end, if that, whatever this formula is fine, is valid, it will return whatever that formula returned. But if it has an error, it will jump to whatever's after this comma, and in this case, I'm going to say NA, or let's do it in caps to be consistent. Now I'm going to copy this down again. Once again, I have to go here and say fill without formatting, but so you can see now we don't have an error, we just have an NA. So I can have it be a space or a blank. I can really control exactly how Excel is going to present that data. Okay, so now what I want to do is, now it gets a little more interesting. I want to talk about how Excel is actually showing these percents. So you can see under number formatting, we're using the normal default percentage option. But what I want to look at is under custom, you can see what the code is for that. Now, if I were to just add it, let's say I wanted the positives to have a plus sign in front. I don't just want them to be like this with the negatives with a negative sign. I want the positives to have a positive sign. Well, if I add a positive here, that won't really work because it will add a positive to everything, including this negative over here. So you can see -6 it's a negative +6, which is not logical. So what I need to do is I need to think about how Excel needs to see, what it needs to see here to define positive, negative, and zero states. And the way it does it is with semicolons. So after the first semicolon, now you're going to see the section that describes the negative scenario. So just to illustrate what I mean here is I can just put the word negative, which of course you would never do that, but I'm just going to use that to illustrate. And now when it's negative, it just says the word negative. Kind of ridiculous. Let's go back here, and we can more logically describe the negative state as negative. Oh, I lost a semicolon. -0%. And that gets us to where you would want to be. Now, here's where it gets really interesting. I can actually make this negative appear a different color using just number formatting. I can put in square brackets the word red at the end here, or at the beginning right after the semicolon, right over here I could put it. And now all the negatives are red, which is a huge time saver if ever you've had to do that manually. So if I go back in here, if I put another semicolon here, the next section describes the zero state. So I can put, just to illustrate this, I'm going to put the word nope, which is absurd, of course. And now if it's truly 0, it will say the word nope. Now the truth is we would not want it to do that. We would probably want it to just say 0 with no sign. So now I can put 0%. So now we've defined what I want. The positives have a positive sign, the negatives have a negative sign and are red, and then the zeros have just a 0. And now I want to show you a few other examples. You can see we have a few other examples here of basically what we've been describing with the number formatting. But what's great is you can actually, you have access to more colors than just red. You can see all the other colors down here. I'll provide a link to this useful website which lists them out. But you can use the codes over here. So for instance, if I wanted this +10 to be a dark green, which is color 10, I could go over here, go into number formatting, and in the positive state, I can put in brackets color 10 end bracket, hit OK, and now whenever I have a positive %, it will appear green. You can imagine how useful that would be. This formatting will carry over into any graph you use, and it can just be a huge time saver if you're expected to do that manually, which in a lot of cases would be the only other way to do that. Okay, great. Thanks for joining us. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments section. Please like the video and subscribe, and please join us for the next video.